Jai Swaminarayan, Namaste, welcome back. It's good to be with all of you again. Last week, I didn't do an episode as I was running a 25K, my fifth race since starting running a year and a half ago. And I wanted to talk about that today. Today is going to be a little not really, I guess you say, a spiritual focused episode. There's not really going to be much Sanatana Dharma in this. That's the reason I'm not wearing my scarf today. We're just busy, and I'm just going to talk about something I do that I really enjoy. And I hope you'll stick with me, even if it's not specifically Sanatana Dharma focused. The next episode, we will be getting back into more religious stuff. But today, we're going to talk about running. So, the show is going to be discussing my 25K last week, which was so awesome and was just maybe the best race I'd run. And I'm going to give a little bit of my experience. It might be a little more technical. So, the first part of this show might be more focused on something a marathoner might find of interest. But stick with me because on the second part of the show, I'm going to pull back and I just want to talk about my experience overall with marathon running and how I, who was like a theater geek growing up, avoided anything physical, did not think I could do anything physical at all, started running and just loved it. I did the impossible. So I want to share with you my experience of doing the impossible and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, which is actually a theme that I bring up on this channel all the time in a spiritual context. Sometimes I talk about it in terms of jhana yoga, where you're always asking questions, even of yourself, even of things that you feel are good, to get yourself to that next level, to get yourself to that realization. So today's show might not be explicitly spiritual, but it actually is totally in line with what I like to talk about: living your best life, doing the impossible, and coming to know yourself, which are all really important keys on your journey to becoming a disciple of God or finding your religious path, whatever it is. I don't know what it might be, and it may not be Sanatana Dharma, uh, but all these things are really important because if you don't know yourself, it's going to be really hard to be a tool of God when God wants you to do things because you're not going to know. Well, you're going to be stuck here with thinking about your own issues and stuff. So, that being said, there will be another episode in the future on marathon running. So if you're interested in marathon running, come back and check that video out again because I had a miracle healing last year. I messed myself up really bad, and I'll talk about that more this hour. I hurt my feet like 6, 7 times to the point where I could barely walk. And I was on the verge of going to a doctor when I did a Vedic mantra 108 times, and the pain was instantly gone. A pain that I'd had for months, bones that I could feel move. It was really weird and scary and bad, and I was healed. I was healed instantly. And so I want to do an episode on that later, but I just want to focus on that for a little bit. Today, I just want to talk about marathon running overall. So let's dive in. Before I get to it, I want to open with a mantra, as I always do, to just set the stage and get us focused. The mantra I want to share is one that I've started doing on this show that I really, really like. I'm trying to promote it to any of you who are listening to this. I think it's something that should be said. It is a mantra that was dug up by a friend of mine in his research on the Shikshapatri, the book by Swami Narayan from 200 years ago, give or take. And it is a mantra that was lost to time. Basically, it feels like I just never saw it around. He never saw it around. And then he found it and published it. And I really liked it the moment I saw it. So it is Om Krishna Sharanam. Nam, Mamah. Mamaha, not Namaha, like we're used to. My friend actually thought that was a spelling mistake when he first found this, but it's not. And then it's Sharanam. So Sha, like I guess Shana Na, the old American pop band, and Ra, and Sharanam, like Vietnam. And so it basically means you're asking for shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna. I will be doing an episode later where I chant it for 108 times and give a better definition of this mantra, but I really, really like it. So if you will just join me and we'll chant it 7 times and then we'll talk about marathon running. Om Shri Krishna Sharanam Mamah. 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 And may Lord Krishna bless today's show. So, I ran a 25K this last weekend here in Maine, a wonderful location called Pineland Farms. It is a farm, a working farm that also includes a school and lots of other businesses on, I don't even know how many acres. I heard something like 1,900 acres, but I don't think that's possible. That just seems too much, but it's just massive. And they put on tons and tons of events. And a few years ago, they started doing a marathon weekend. So my girlfriend and I went up and did it. We hadn't been up there before. We went up the night before and saw the cows and got our bibs. And so this marathon weekend at this farm consists of one day. There is a uh, God, I've told this story now so many times, but now I'm blanking. On the day we did it, which was last Saturday, May 27th, there was a 100K, and then later at 6 a.m., the 100K went out. At 8 a.m., the 50K. At 9 a.m., the 25K. And then at noon, a 24-hour race where you just do the course as many times as you want in 24 hours. The next day, there was, I didn't go then, but from what I saw online, a 5K, a 5K with your dogs. I've never seen one of those, but the photos look cool. I think there was also maybe a half and full marathon then. So my girlfriend is working on running a 100-mile marathon before she turns 40 in a couple years. 100 miles. I always like the joke. We bought a car a few years ago, and yet she's running 100 miles. But she loves it. She is a certified running coach, and I couldn't even tell you how many races she's done now. It's probably 20, and marathons, including New York. So she wanted to do an ultra, her first ultra. So we went up Saturday, and she did the 50K, which is, I'm just being rough here for those of you who don't know. It's like 6 miles more than a full marathon. I'm rounding the numbers a bit, but basically it's like 6 miles more. And so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna have like 6 to 7 hours to wait. I can read my book, or I'll just see what else is happening that day." And there was a 25K, which is in between a half and a full. So I thought, "Well, I'll just do the 25K, and then I'll come back and have a few hours to hang out, and that'll be great." And so that's what we did. I have done a 5 miler. That was my first race. And then I went down to a 5K, which is 3.1 miles. And then I did a full marathon, the Maine Marathon. And then I did the half marathon in Millinocket, Maine, which was impossible. It was just insane. It's like an Iron Man thing. I'll talk about that later. And so now that last one was in December. So now here it is in May. I got to do a 25K, so something slightly different because if you know me, you know I like variety and I like doing different things. And then she got to become an official ultra marathoner. And we loved it. We both absolutely loved it. What made this really awesome was it was a trail run. We'd never done trails. We'd always run on cement. And well, we did run on part of a logging road, which was dirt, but it was still kind of a road. But this was a complete trail, which meant rocks and stones and sticks in the trees, which was great because it was really warm out, and hills. Hills, 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 where you're literally like climbing and then you're going down, staggering, trying not to fall, and then you're going up, and then you're going down, and then you're going up, and then you're weaving around. And then they would run us through fields, and they had not plowed out, mowed out just a few feet in the fields that were like up to here, just so we could run. Fields are not easy to run on because the ground is just, you can't see what you're running on, and it's not level. It was really hard. And then you'd run into the trails again. Oh my God, trail running. We don't ever want to do cement running again if we can avoid it. We so love the trail running. So trail running is easier on your feet than cement running. And this is a fact. I actually was just reading a book. I just finished it before the race, called The Way of the Runner by Adharanand Find. Yes, that's you can't see his name there, but yes, it's a Hindu name. He's a British writer who's famous for going to Africa and writing a couple books about running with the Kenyans and Nigerians. I forget. My girlfriend's read those two books. This one is about him going to Japan. And he found that when he was in Japan, all the Japanese runners were always running on cement, whereas in the Nigerians and the Ethiopians were always running or often running on trails in Japan. And I lived there for 3 years. You just don't have the trails, very few trails. It's all cement. And what this guy found, Adarand Finn, was that the injury rate for the Japanese is huge compared to the Ethiopians. There's just something running on trails that you don't get hurt as much. And my girlfriend and I walked away from this race achy, a little bit achy. We stopped at the grocery store on the way, got a pizza, came home and watched a movie and didn't stand up again. And we both had the next day off from work. And we were achy for a few days, but our feet weren't bothering us. I had like a small blister that went away versus like the huge blisters I'd had before. She only lost 2 toenails. I didn't lose any. Um, yes, that's a thing where they just go black and they're just like falling. They're literally falling off. Um, it sounds worse than it is. And our legs weren't in pain like they were. And she has done, like I said, 20 races and always been in pain afterwards. This one, yeah, it was amazing. So if you are a marathon runner, find a trail if you haven't already. We are totally converted on this. I'm going to be going out soon to buy some new running sneakers that are trail sneakers. So they look like baseball sneakers that have, things on the bottom to dig in, because it was just amazing. And the hills, oh my gosh, they were horrible. I hate hills. I hate hills no matter what. Oh, I hate hills. Uh, what I didn't know though was you shouldn't run up them. Walk up them. I didn't learn that till after the fact. I thought you should just go for it. No, walk. And the thing about this particular race was they staggered all the groups. So the 50Ks went out, my girlfriend all together, and then my group went out. And so we really didn't overlap. Unlike other races I've done where everyone goes out at the same time or within maybe a few minutes of each other. So this was really interesting to see, and thus I didn't get to see what other people were doing and learn that you don't run up the hills. So my girlfriend said to me, she goes, none of the ultra runners run up the hills. Actually, the books tell you not to do that. And I was like, wow, okay. I wish I'd known that, because by the end, I would see a hill and I'm like, no, I'm just walking up this thing. I never stopped. I have never done in the 5 races I've done, I stopped for one. It was a 5 mile, but you were supposed to stop halfway through because it was a donut fundraiser, so you got donuts. And then on another, my shoelace came untied, and or actually, no, it wasn't my shoelace. There was something wrong with my sock. What I didn't realize is my toe had basically come off. So I stopped for 30 seconds to take my shoe off. I don't like stopping. I run constantly. I do not like to walk, but on this one, I had to walk up those hills. I couldn't do it. And then I'd have to walk a little bit more. But everyone was walking. Come to find out, everybody on both teams, three, actually, there was four races, were all walking. And it's okay. It wasn't a big deal, as her and I discussed afterwards. And this is the next cool thing, because, and this blew my mind, because this marathon, this series of race, maybe Sunday was different, but for Saturday, it wasn't about being the fastest or even doing your personal best or breaking your personal best time. It was about finishing. The whole attitude that she said and everyone else, and the vibe was just finishing. It didn't matter if you walked the whole race course, you just finished. And that has blown my mind. A week later, I'm still kind of blown away by this concept of not racing for speed, but racing for the enjoyment of it and for the pleasure of it. And she's telling me, she's like, "Yeah, ultra marathons, folks really don't run the whole thing. They may walk up hills. They may walk more than hills." She told me at one point, because it was so hot in the day, that there was like a 10-minute conversation going on around the water table, and they actually pulled out the hose and were spraying people down. In a marathon, you wouldn't stop for 10 minutes to chit chat, but it was different here. The whole thing was different because her and I kind of figure when it comes to a marathon and half marathon, those are so common, that people have this race mentality. But a 25K and an ultra takes things just a little bit different, into a different place, and they're not so common. And thus, the whole mentality of racing is gone. It's just about the pleasure of it. So from now on, when I do a race, I'm not going to care about my personal best. I'm going to try my best, but I'm not going to worry about what my time is so much, which is a good thing, because as I get older, I will be getting slower. And my time hasn't really changed too much in a year and a half, because I know how much I like to practice my running. I'm not a 5 days a week going out there insane and whatever. I don't do that. If it's raining, I don't go out. If it's bad weather, I don't go out. So I don't push myself to get all the way. I just want to keep where I am, and I feel really good where I am. I'm actually in my age range. So that was just amazing to me, to not run for time, and nobody was running for time. And there was nobody that I saw from our day, when I looked at all the results, who didn't finish. And normally there is. Normally I look at a race and you'll see uh didn't finish, incomplete, whatever. Nobody, everybody finished. The times were all over the place. They went from really short to really long, but everybody finished. So that was just so amazing to me. And it was really something to ponder. And if you're a marathon runner, feel free to comment down below. One more thing about this, and then I'll get on to the bigger picture. You probably want to know how I did, because anyone listening to this wants to kind of know the times, whatever. So I'm going to put it in context. My girlfriend's first marathon some years ago, she did like 5:20. She has since done under 4 hours. I think 3 hours and 45 minutes is her fastest. The last marathon we did, which was last year, which we did together, my first, she was 4:01 and complaining that I was too slow. And I'm like, you did 4:01, you've done 5:20. How is that too slow? You were amazing. But she's aiming for what is called the sub 4. So it's the competitive mindset. On this, she did 6:42. She thought it would be 6 to 7 hours. So she was right where she felt felt really good. And she felt good coming off. She was tired, but it was really good. So let's see. My time. Oh, I want to mention one more thing before I do my time. There was a really cool other aspect about this race, it's only like 3 years old, so a lot of people don't know it, and it was Memorial Day weekend, and there's another marathon going on like 30 minutes away. That's a big fundraiser. So there wasn't very many people there. Between the 4 races that went off, there was maybe 500 people total that day. That was nothing compared to when I ran the Maine Marathon. Was there 7,000 of us running plus spectators? Uh, so to have a race where there's nothing was awesome, and nobody was awesome. And I like that because I don't like crowds. There was let me think. 23 people I heard went off with the 100K, so double what my girlfriend was doing. Her group of the 50K, men and women combined, was about 120 people. That's nothing when you think about like 7,000. And the 25K with mine was there was 168 of us. And then there was the 24-hour group that left at noon. I didn't count that. It was 24 hours solo. Uh, and I don't remember. There wasn't many there, maybe 30 tops on that too, because that's a big thing. Before I do my time, I should mention one more thing. The way this course was, one loop was a 25K. So I just did one loop. She did 2 loops. I don't, the 100K was about 4 loops, so they actually gave them a slightly different route for some reason. The 24-hour folks just did this 25 loop as many times as they wanted over 24 hours, and they had tents, and you could stop and have dinner, and the clock wouldn't stop. You'd be running, and you'd get off, and then you'd have dinner, and you'd come back, or you'd take a nap. And the slowest person for that did this 25K loop 4 times in like 23 or 22 hours. The fastest person did it 26 hours. Sorry, not 26 hours. The fastest person did it 16 times. That boggles my mind. To do this loop 16 times, the mindset for that is insane. And to stop and to eat, the guy must have been going really fast. So that was something. I that to me is just like almost an endurance thing. I just that Yeah, I find that fascinating. That's actually something I would do, though. I know at my route or my rate, I'd probably only be doing like 8 or 9 loops that day. But that's something I find really interesting. That and last man standing things. They're sort of endurance stuff because I don't want to be an ultra marathoner. But the endurance stuff where you're just pushing yourself to see if you can do it. How much can you do in 24 hours? That to me is really interesting. Anyways, my time, and then we'll move on to the bigger picture of marathon running. So my marathon time is 4:17. That was my first marathon. I did really well. Everyone was really impressed. My half marathon time on a really hard course was 2:14. So I thought this would be 2:30, 3:30. Um, it was 2:41. I was very happy. It would have been a little faster had I not walked, but I was number 47 out of 85 guys, which is exactly where I pretty much always am, right in the middle. And that makes me feel really good. And in my age range of 40 to 49, I'd say 90% of us all came in under 3 hours. So I feel like, yeah, I'm really in a good spot. I'm exactly doing what I should be doing for my age range. And that made me feel really good. For the 25K in total, the fastest person was like an hour something, and the slowest was like 8 hours, I think they did, because they were basically walking, maybe a little faster than 8 hours, 7 hours, I forget now. It was quite long. So there was quite a range of folks doing this. But as I said, everyone completed it. And I think the nice thing about this was because there was a 24-hour thing starting at noon and ending at the noon the next day, there was no time limit. Most marathons are like, yeah, you've got to run this by a certain time, and if you don't finish, you don't finish. But this one, you could have run all the way through Sunday night, or you could have started the 25K that I was doing at 9 o'clock on Saturday and finished it, I guess maybe 9 p.m. on Sunday. I don't know. So I think that made it possible for everyone to finish. There was no push. Again, though, it was just so amazing running this. Uh, so if you're a marathon runner and you're just checking this video out because it came out on your feed, let me know your experience running trail runs. I'm totally endorsing it now. Um, ultra marathoning, 25K, whatever. It would be fascinating to just compare notes. For the technical aspects of it, I wear Brooks running shoes, really like them. Had a pair of New Balance. They don't really do it for me, though the factory that makes New Balance is here in Maine, in Norwich Walk. I've driven by it on the way to another marathon. I did learn a lot on this marathon. Traditionally, I wear just a little water bottle on my waist, but I'm going to be doing now a pack. Uh, and the water bottle's just not enough. And I usually feel I'm not refreshed enough when I'm running, and that wears me down so fast. I'm burning through so many calories and so much water on all the marathons that from now on I'm wearing a pack no matter how long that marathon is. Uh, My girlfriend does that already. She's got the packs that hang in the front. She's giving me her old one that hangs in the back because she doesn't like that. So I'm going to be doing that. I carry with me gummies, not CB, not pot gummies, just normal gummies that are made for runners, and they're special ones that go in your system fast. Those are great. I had red Swedish fish with me. I also had some cookies, but they melted. So we're not going to be doing those anymore because I'd pull them out of my pack and it'd be like, it's like mush. I'll smash it in my mouth and then I'm all dirty, and I don't like that. uh, Shorts, t-shirt, nothing special in what I wear, headband, and it's just a real basic setup for me. So that's the technical aspect. So I want to talk about the bigger picture of marathon running. I am 46 years old by just 2 weeks as I record this. I started running a year and a half ago, I guess technically, a little earlier. I don't know. Let's see. Uh, December. So about a year and a half ago. And I have never done anything physical fitness in my life. Gym class in high school. And I think I ran once since high school because someone wanted to meet me. So I ran 2 miles across New York City because it was like, you got to be here right now to meet the guitar player of Megadeth. Quite literally, that's what happened. And so I ran and stopped and ran, and I got there. I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. That's the amount of my physical fitness 100% in my life. I am a thin guy. I'm a theater geek. I'm a writer, whatever, and I go with that. I do not run. So how did I go from no running to running a marathon a year and a half ago? Because I went a little crazy, or I was a little bored, or I just said, really, I said, well, why not? I guess I could do this. Why not? So I used to go and watch my girlfriend run, and I'd see her off in the morning, and then I'd stand there with my book for a few hours, wander around, sit down on the grass, maybe get something to eat, and then read, and then watch my clock and read and watch my clock. Oh, she's coming in now. And that would be the routine. And I watched her enough times that it was like, this is so exciting. And I eventually went, oh, I want to be a part of the fun. I want to do this. And I kind of thought, well, I'm in good shape, though I'm not athletic. I'm not in bad shape. My health is okay. From the last time I went to the doctor said I was fine. I guess I could do this, and it doesn't cost any money, really, other than shoes and clothes. And you buy that stuff once and it lasts a while. So, hey, I could do this. Why not? Why not is a dangerous question. So I decided, though, I would walk because you can walk in marathons. They'll let you go a little bit earlier than the runners. And I was like, I can't run. I really can't run, but I know I can walk because I walk a mile to work every day. Between errands I run at work, I do a lot. I've been walking to work since my 20s, all but 1 year. 1 year I had a car. No, actually, it wasn't even a year. It was less than a year I had a car. I used to walk, or I used to take the bus into work and then walk 3 miles home. That's normal for me. My old job, I'd walk 3.5 miles home because the bus would take an hour and a half to go 3.5 miles, and it would get me to work late in the morning, and then I'd have to wait like an hour after work got out to get it, and I'm just gonna walk it. So I'm used to walking and I love walking. So I'm like, I'll walk a marathon. So I went out one day before I told my girlfriend I was gonna do this, and I thought I'm just gonna go out and run this little. It's a cove in the water here near the house, and it's like 3 something miles, kind of 5 miles total from house going around and then back. So I went out and I speed walked because I didn't want to walk normal. I was gonna speed walk. So I speed walked. I got to the cove and then I started going around. Oh my god, I now know what when your legs feel like rubber. I was like, I don't know if I can walk. This might be too much. This might be too much. And this was in December. We'd just come back from a marathon that she had done up in the mountains of Maine, and I'm like, oh my god, it's cold and this is hard, and I was just wearing my jeans. I'm like, I don't know if I can walk, but maybe if I buy a few books and I train really early. And when I mean early, the marathon I was aiming for was in August, and here it was December. And normally you do like a 16 to 18 week training when you're starting out. But I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And I told her what I was going to do. And she was like, are you sure? Yeah. She goes, okay, we'll go and get you some shoes. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy some clothes. And I would ask her questions like, what's the good socks to buy? And what's this and what's that? And then I got my gear together because you can't do this in jeans and you can't do this in just normal clothes like this. And so I started reading about doing power walking in a marathon and started training. And I would go out in December because I'm like, if I wait for 18 weeks ahead, I can't do it. I can't do this in 18 weeks. I need to start now because it's hard. So I would go out after work and just walk 2 miles, which a lot of people do. A lot of us walk after work, but I would power walk it. So I'd try to get my heart rate going because that's the thing. If you're really trying to do something, it's more than just the physical movement. Also, getting your heart rate is also really important. Plus, I knew if I just walked my casual way and did a marathon, I'd probably not make the cutoff. So I knew I kind of had to power walk, and going faster was sort of the key. Now, I should say my normal walking pace, I can do a mile in 12 minutes. That's my normal walking pace. So I was aiming for like 10 minutes or something, or at least, I don't know, something. So I just started walking and walking, and I walked all through December, and I walked all through the snow in Maine in January. I'd go out a few days after work, and I'd get on my and I'd walk and I'd walk and I'd walk and I'd put on my headphones and I'd walk and buy some new clothes and walk and my body started to get used to this walking thing, and I was doing better, and then I'd increase my distances because the idea is not really starting out. And people think when you run you should start out, you go really fast, but no, it's not about that. It's about perseverance. And so when I started running, or when I started walking, I yes, I'd walk a little faster than normal, but it wasn't about speed walking as fast as I could. It would be like, can I walk a mile? Can I walk a mile and a half? Can I do 2, 3, 4 miles? Can I get longer and longer and longer? The idea was not to do a mile as fast as I possibly could. The idea was to last for as many miles as I could. And if that meant walking slower, so many days after work, I would go and I just kind of walk really slow, but I'd kind of be like, can we get that extra half mile in today? Can I go farther without tiring out? Because if you run really fast and you burn out after a mile, how are you going to last a full marathon? You're not. You're not going to do it. And I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, you got to go really fast. I'm like, no, actually, in your training, you don't go really fast for quite a while. Speed work comes later. The idea is training your body to just last a full marathon or a half marathon or whatever your goal is. It's not about trying to run as fast as possible. It's just trying to get your body used to running. And then when you can run a distance, then you work on the speed. So what I would do is on the weekends, I would go out and do some more faster stuff and just exhaust myself out and come home after an hour or whatever. But during the week, it was really about just trying to get distances. And then on the weekend, I would do longer distances and work on speed and stuff. And I had to learn the hard way. I didn't realize that. I thought it was all about trying to be fast, but it's not. It's just about persevering. I remember one time I was walking really fast around this cove, and this little kid saw me, and he started kind of quasi running, walking near me, and we're like, okay. I'm like, okay, dude, let's do this. So we're going, and I didn't change my pace. I was going kind of fast, but he ran. He kind of started running, and he beat me, and he's looking behind me, and he's laughing like a kid does, and then he just crashed. He just totally crashed. I just kept doing my pace because that was the key. It's about trying to finish, not trying to burn yourself out. So I went through a lot of learning about that. And I also learned how to eat better and drink better because burning off calories. So, anyways, I struggled through the winter, and the way I transitioned from walking to running was my girlfriend had signed up for a. It's almost silly when I think about it now. She signed up for a charity race that was introduced in town. It's called a donut dash. It's becoming kind of trendy, where you run for 5 miles and halfway in the middle you stop for donuts, and they give you like 18 donuts and you have some water. They're donut holes. We're not talking, big donuts, just donut holes. And you give some money, and they give you bibs, but it's not timed or anything quite so much. It's not really a race, it's just a fundraiser. So she goes, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to run, and then in the middle we have to stop and eat 18 donuts. And I said to her, she goes, well, do you want to do it with me? And I said, well, if I do it with you, I'm going to run. I'm not going to walk that. I'm going to run it with you. So that's going to be a chance. So I thought about this. I'm like, God, can I run it? I don't know, 5 miles to run. Ugh. But then I thought about it. I said, well, yes, I'll do it. Even though I didn't know if I could do it, I said, yes, I'll do it, because I don't want to see you finish the race and then barf up 18 donuts. That's just disgusting. I'd rather see you eat half that amount, or I eat half and you eat half, and then we don't get sick. That was literally how I started running. I don't want to see you throw up 18 donuts. It's so embarrassing. Uh, but that's it. That's how I started turning from a walker to a runner. I had 1 month. Remember, you're supposed to train for 18 weeks? No, I had 1 month. She was like, well, it's in a month from now. Oh, shit. So I think the next day I went out and I said, okay, how am I going to do this? Um, I've been walking, this was March. I'm like, I've been walking for a few months, but I'm not ready to run. Let me just go out and see what I can do for running. As I'm in the park across from my street, across from my house, and uh, I have an app on my phone so I can, figure out how long I'm doing, whatever. And I said, I'm just gonna run, just see what I can do. And I just went out, boom, 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 boom. Quarter of a mile later, I fell down. I'm in pain. This hurts. I can't do this. Oh my God. And then I just kind of hobbled and walked for like another 30 minutes or so. I was like, oh shit, I'm screwed. So what I started doing was I would go out after work and I would walk like a mile, and then I would run like half mile and then a mile, and I'd just try to run more and more, and then I would stop and walk, which wasn't really that good. Running and then stopping and walking, 'cause my body really wasn't in good shape. I was messing it up kind of bad, and it was hard. The walking was fine. I'd start off walking a mile. That was nothing. But that mile running, that was hard. Even if I wasn't pushing myself, it was hard to do. I had to build up to a mile and then more than that. And the way marathon training goes is you never actually run the length of the course. So I would, in my, like for in a training for a 20-mile marathon, you might run up to 18 miles or 17 miles. You don't actually ever go all the way. You just go close to it, and then you take it all the way in the actual marathon. So I was never going to go out after work and run 5 miles. But if I could run 3, that would work. But oh my God, it was hard. And I was doing this walking, running thing that was actually hurting my body, messing me up. But I had 1 month and I didn't know how to do it. And no training program tells you to run 5 miles and with a 1 month. And I really realized how I wasn't really as in shape as I was. And that was so bad that I guess like a week before, I almost didn't think I was going to be able to do it. And I didn't carbo load. I didn't eat either. Um, And I think about a week before, I kind of exhausted myself after 3 weeks of pushing myself, and I'm like, "This isn't gonna happen, this isn't gonna happen." Now you have to understand my girlfriend, her pace was like 750 or 8.5 to 7.5. She's a fast runner, so I didn't want to be doing a 15-minute mile and slow her down. I wanted to do as good as I could because if she was doing like a really slow pace, she wouldn't enjoy it. So I was really, really pushing myself to run fast and run. It was really kind of stupid. She should have given me more headway, but she just didn't know about this race, and I didn't want to see her throw up. Anyways, we went out and we did it, and the title card for this video shows a photo from that. It was a trail run too, though a much nicer trail than the one I did last week. This is a well padded down trail, and we ran, and we were actually there wasn't very many people, maybe 150 of us had shown up, and we were in the first fourth for the entire thing. Right up until the end. We were always in the first fourth. We got a pace. She let me set the pace, and I pushed myself a little bit, and we had a good time, and we're running. Some people walked it. By let's see, mile 2.5 was like mile 2.5 was the stopping point. By mile 2, I was like, and she's like, "We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there." Like, and we got in and we grabbed the donuts. Here's the catch. We didn't know you didn't really have to eat all the donuts. You quite literally could have just grabbed the box and ate them after the fact. No one cared. We thought people were going to look and count your donuts, and we didn't. We wanted to eat all 18, so we're sitting there, we're stuffing them in. And she's like, "I don't see anyone really paying attention. I think we could just run." So we ate, I think, 4 piece. So it's like maybe one full donut. It would end up being. And we're like, "Yeah, screw it." So we stopped for 5 minutes, and then we kept running. And, I think if you see the title card for this video, I think you'll see her holding the box. She confessed to her stomach was like, "Yep, let's slow it down a little bit, please." She's like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "Actually, I'm fine. I've got my energy now." We finished that in 48 minutes. Uh, so that's after I take away the 5 minutes stopping. So my first race was 48 minutes, eating 6 donuts and running 5 miles. And that's how I started running. And we had such a good time doing it. We had such a good time. I need to take a drink. We really enjoyed that. And we had then scheduled a 5K, so 3.1 miles on Mother's Day soon afterwards. I Yeah, it was amazing doing that, though I was so much in pain afterwards. I'm like, "Yep, I did the 5 miles. The Mother's Day we have coming up, I should be able to do that." Once I got over that hurdle of pain, I realized I had done something I had never done before. I had literally pushed myself to run 2.5 and stop and run 2.5 miles. I had never done anything like that, nonstop, and our pace actually was close to her normal pace. We were running about 9, 10 minutes, give or take. So she was like, "You're doing really, really well. You're doing really well. Like, wow, you're keeping up with me." And I'm like, "I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying." I felt so enthralled. Like, wow, I actually was able to do this. Thus, the training sucked. Yes, I probably messed up, but I did it. And you know what? I probably didn't even need to stop, but it was nice to stop. I felt so great having pushed myself and done it and not said the week before, like I was thinking about doing, I'm not going to be able to run it. My training sucks. Forget about it. I didn't. Now, I should say that there were people who kept running for like another hour and a half from I saw the results. And so lots of folks were just walking it. There was adults with kids. And so it was a really casual thing, but we were going to give it our best. Then we did the Mother's K 5. We did the Mother's Day 5K, which a lot of people sign up for. You see folks in jeans. You see folks. I'm like, I'm 90% sure you haven't even practiced for this. You're just doing it because it's 5K. And A lot of folks were probably realizing how it's not so easy to run 3.1 miles. Sorry, there's a siren outside. I had the windows open. It's really cool today. Um, and or it's actually been really hot this past week, and today's the first cool day, so I had the windows open. Uh, I we did this 5K. We were 1 second apart. We both came in at 28 minutes, and then and then 01. And we just ran together the whole time, and that was tough. That was really tough. To this day, the 28-minute 5K has sort of been my litmus test. In my normal runs around, I've actually done it in 26 minutes. Um, so that was just recently, matter of fact. So that is sort of my average. She can go a little faster, but she slowed it down for me. There was still people coming in over an hour after the fact. So that was really great. Great time for those 2 races, and she was very pleased with me. Physically, it was hard. I mean, I was like, the 5K was, I can't, I was like, let's just do this. Let's just do this. And it was really hard, but I'm so glad I did those. And so one was on Mother's Day, and then the next thing on my schedule was the Maine Marathon in August. And August, September, October, November, August, September. I forget what day it is, either August or September, but it was a ways away. So then I could have a proper training for that, and I could actually go into that normal. But it was so great doing these 2 little marathons. I wish I'd done them the other way, doing the 5K first and the 5-miler then, but whatever. It was really great doing those because I was able to prove to myself, you actually can run. You don't have to walk. I never thought about walking a marathon again. I didn't go back to training to walk. I was like, no, from now on, I'm going to run marathons. I'm going to be a marathon runner. And I'm going to go for the full marathon, not the half. I'm just going to go all the way because I may never want to do another one because this hurts. So that was really my intention. I just do this marathon and that would probably be it. I'd have 3 races under my belt. Now I'm working on my 6th race. So that's not how it goes in reality. But I really proved myself, wow, I can do something. And I trained and, I learned a lot really quickly and I made some mistakes and did things poorly, but I did it. I did not give up. And it was hard and it hurt and it took days to recover. And it's not fun. Going out after work when you're tired in the rain, it's not fun. I don't actually enjoy it. I really don't enjoy running. I have other things to do. I'm writing a book right now and I was drafting it at that time. I'd rather be doing that than running. Honestly, I don't really enjoy it. But the finishing of these 2 races was such a feeling of, wow, wow, wow. I felt like I had really done something big. It was a feeling that I'd had, like, when I'd written my first book. I was like, "Wow, I actually did it." Or when I used to do theater and I would do some really big I produced, co-produced and wrote a show that had a cast of over 100, and it took us months to put it together, and it was really big, and when you finally put it out there, we'd actually never rehearsed it from front to back either. So it was like, oh god, and we were doing I was doing the programs, creating them that afternoon, and to finally then do it was like unbelievable. It was that same feeling. And it made me think of other things in my life and other people in my life. And you know how many people I encounter that go, I couldn't run a race. I couldn't run a race. Do you have any foot problems? No. Do you have any issues? No, but I just couldn't do it. I was that guy. I said I couldn't do it. And it's interesting because I see a lot of people around me, they go like, I can't do this and I can't do this and I can't do this. Doesn't matter what it is. Oh, I can't read that book. It's so thick. Oh, I can't take up this religious practice. It has so many requirements. I can't do this. I can't do this. It's so hard. I don't regret running a race and proving to myself that I can. Your teachers in kindergarten always tell you, never say the word can't. And they're totally right. It was so amazing running these 2 little races, and I proved myself I can do this. So anyways, fast forward, I started training for the Maine Marathon, and I did a proper training, and I was charting it all out, and I sort of backtracked. I started my training going, okay, we're just going to start running 2 miles. Yes, I've run a 5 mile marathon, but no, we're going to start 18 weeks. I'm just going to start really small as though I've never done anything before, and I'm going to do it properly. I did get hurt. I hurt my feet really badly, about 6 times, to the point where I said at the beginning of the show that I can walk a mile in about 12 minutes if I'm really pushing. I can get to work in 12 minutes. Um, there's fluff. Sorry about that flying through. Cat hairs and fluff and other things around here. Um, and I hurt myself so bad that my walking time was taking me about 30 minutes to walk a mile. Running wasn't even in. I couldn't run at all. I had at least one, if not two, stress fractures in both feet. Blisters. I had a bone that one day I could just feel the bone moving, like it wasn't supposed to move like that. It was really bad. It was horrible. I could barely walk. I literally could barely walk. I was sitting at work all day with ice packs and heating pads. I was coming home and doing the same thing. I did not want to bail, and I don't like going to doctors, and like one thing would heal and then all of a sudden my other foot would ache because I'd been putting all the pressure on that other foot. It was about, God, a good month I was not functioning. And anyone who knows me will tell you it was really, really bad. And I was at the point where I'm like, yep, we're going to a doctor. I just have to be able to walk to be able to get to the doctor, or we have to figure something out. I can't do it anymore. I showed up to my girlfriend. I said, I have like 8 weeks to the marathon and I don't want to cancel this. I've been working so hard since December and I don't want to cancel. And I keep hurting my feet and hurting my feet. I would go out for a good run and then something else would hurt. And it just like I couldn't get better because I was just hurting injury upon injury. And like I said, one foot would get better, but then the other foot would break down because it had been overused. I was joking with my girlfriend. I'm like, "Do you know anyone who does witchcraft? Because I'm desperate. Because you have Monday off. We'll go to the doctor. This is it." And they're going to put a brace on my foot and there's no more racing. And I've talked to people because she went and did a race at this point, or a little bit later, she did a race that I watched. And I heard people talking like, yeah, they put a boot on my foot and I've never run again. Like I do now. I walk like a mile or two. That was it. That was years ago. And I never run again. And I'm like, oh, I just don't like the fetus part of me didn't want to give up. So I pushed myself. I sort of did the David Goggins thing, who, if you're in the marathon, you know who he is. He injured himself and kept running to, I think, get into the Marine, some special Marine Corps or something, where you only have 3 chances, and if you don't, whatever. Um, I haven't read his book, but every runner knows David Goggins. So I kind of did the David Goggins thing, where I worked against my own body, and I could have hurt myself really bad. And as I hinted at the beginning of the show, I found a Vedic mantra. It was a Friday afternoon. I found a Vedic mantra, which I'll talk about in a future episode. And I chanted it 108 times. It was at work. That morning, I could barely walk. My feet hurt me 24 hours a day. I'd been in pain for a month. Bones were like, crack, 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 crack. It was like an old witchy woman with creaky bones. That's what I felt like. I chanted the mantra. I said, I give up. I'm done. On Monday, we're going to the doctors when my girlfriend had the day off, and the pain was gone. It was literally gone. And I walked home, and it took me 15 minutes. I had no pain. I got home, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. Maybe I'll jinx it. Woke up the next day, went out running, did 6 miles. No pain. Pain never came back again on either foot. They work fine to this day. I don't know what happened. I will detail some of that in a future episode for the skeptics out there, or for those who like miracle healing episodes. We'll detail that. But I was healed. And so then over the next 8 months, I kind of built up my time again and built up my time and ran the marathon. So I remember going off, starting the marathon, and my idea was I'm going to find a pace and I'm going to stay there. I'm not going to push it. If I can do like a 10-minute pace, it's a little slower than my preferred pace, which is about 950 is what I really like. But if I can do 10 minutes, I know I can sustain a 10-minute thing for probably most of it. if I hit 9:30, given the injuries I've had, given the 8 weeks of training, I don't know if I'm gonna sustain this, and I'd rather not burn out. I'd rather go a little slower and keep it going. And I did. I just went out, found it, and I just got this pace. And I've been told since that I'm really good at keeping a steady pace. Maybe it's because I'm a bass player, but I just get in this groove. And what's really fun about marathon running and running is once you hit about 3, 4 miles, for me, it's 4, for my girlfriend, it's 3, your body goes into autopilot. And that's the thing a lot of people don't know. They go out walking for an hour or two, or they do a 5K. For me, I need to hit 3.5 miles and then it's autopilot. Like I could just keep going. As long as I've got food and drink in me, my body doesn't stop. It's really fascinating how that happens. So like I'm doing this 5K or I'm doing the 5 miler where I stopped. I could never get into that mode, which is why I really don't like those races and I don't do them anymore. I won't do them again. I'll only do things that are at least a half marathon or maybe a 15K. So a little less than a half, because that 5K, that Mother's Day K, is hard because I never get into autopilot. So this Maine Marathon that I'm doing, and it was once I hit that and I hit my pace, my body was like a machine. It was like one of those endless machines that never stop. It was really great. I just had to slow down at points when I need some water, but they had tons of water stations and juice, and you're running and you take a sip of juice and it goes all Gatorade, which is the normal, and it just goes all over you. But whatever, it's hot, so it's fine. Or I had my cookies that didn't melt that day, and so it was great. It was what, 7,000 of us, maybe there was 4,000, I forget, somewhere between 4 and 7 that ran that race. And I remember it's just so crowded as you start it and you're running, and they block the streets off for the city, and it goes way out beyond Portland and out into the neighboring cities and then loops back. And I remember at one point I'm with a bunch of girls and like, yeah, you got this. And they're all, maybe they think I'm my age, or they think I'm just some skinny, geeky guy. Not that I don't think they think I'm an older runner or whatever. Maybe they feel sorry for me. I know how I look. And they're like, yeah, you got this. It's okay. And, you'd be running. And I remember I kind of started talking to them because there was a hill in front of us. And it was just thousands of people going up this hill. It was it was like, "Oh my god," and they heard me, and it was like, they started laughing. Well, they're like, "Yeah, you got this, you got this." Well, when they were telling me this, it was where the half marathon turned off. So of the 4, whatever it was, the half marathoners turn off, and then the rest of us who are doing the full keep going. And I remember they're like, "You got this, you got this," and all these girls, they're maybe 30 tops, vroom, they all turn off, and I just keep going right through them. And I saw one kind of give me this double take, like, "Oh shit, what, oh shit," and I just go off, and it was like, like, yeah, I got this. um, but it was really interesting because you go from thousands of people, kind of like this, and you're running, and all of a sudden this turn, and woof, it was nothing from then on until the end. So you go all the way up and then you loop around and you come back into town at the start to where you started. I never would see more than 20 people in front of me. And my girlfriend was like an hour ahead of me, or at one point I think she was, or maybe a half hour ahead of me. Yeah, half hour ahead of me. And And so I never ran into her, but it's just you go from all this to nothing. And I just remember it was like once I start running and I'm like, suddenly there's 5 people in front of me down this little country street, and the cars were now going through. They didn't close all the streets for the marathon. Some of them were still open. I'm like, all these half marathoners are now behind me, and I could hear the noise fading away because there was a whole crowd of people with different parts of this. I'm like, now I'm in the middle of nowhere, and there's like one person standing at a sidewalk waving to us, and I'm like, "Oh shit, this is real. This is real. I'm doing this. There's no turning back." It was like, "Oh my god." And then you just run. If you ever watch How I Met Your Mother, one of the characters runs a marathon, and he goes, "The secret to running a marathon is you start running and then you don't stop." And I kept thinking about that. It's like, I'm doing this. It's real. I gotta run, and oh my god. And I had my headphones on me, and you'd be running. There'd be like someone running next to you, and sometimes you'd nod or say something, and there may only be 5 people around me. It was so wild, and you're running on the side of the road, and when I needed to refocus, I'd listen to my tunes, I'd focus in on that, and I was actually in a part of the county that I'd never been in, kind of nicer houses that I'd never seen. So I was looking around me going, "Oh, this is cool." I'm kind of like a tourist. About mile 12, 15, I started to get a little bit like, uh, and that's where I said it the earlier, I'm going to be wearing a water pack. That's when I started to feel the water just started. I needed more, and I wasn't able to get it enough from the aid stations. I just kept a steady pace according to my thing. I ran basically a 10-minute pace for the entire thing, never stopped except once when I felt something weird on my sock and my toe had basically come off, and I didn't know that. Um, by the last, I don't know, 6 miles or so, the hills were hard. I was like, I'd slow down. It wouldn't be a 10-minute pace there. I'd be like, I'm struggling. It was hard. It was hard at the end. I was really hard. It was kind of interesting though, going back to the water thing, because I had carbo loaded on this race, which I had not done on my 5K and the 5 miler, which meant I ate as much as possible the 2 weeks before. I stuffed myself so much over the previous 2 weeks. I gained at least 5 to 10 pounds, which I noticed because I am quite thin, though you may not be able to see it here. I'm quite thin, and I noticed it, and I had got so sick of food too. The day before the race, it was like, oh, I can't even eat. I don't want food ever again. I lost all the weight and more because I weighed myself before and after. I think it was like 8 pounds I gained in a week and a half, and I lost it all. I think I lost 10 pounds. I literally could feel the weight going off as I was running. I could feel like vroom, vroom. I burned like 4,000 calories. So I always joke like running a marathon is a great weight loss diet. In one day, you'll be smaller. Had I not carbo loaded, though, I don't think I would have been able to do the Maine Marathon. I would have been so slow, but my body was eating all that calories. It was really an interesting feeling when you're running, going, "Oh, I can feel my body." It's like it's eating away at itself, you know? This is so weird, but it kept me going, and then I finally finished, and, I remember the last 2 miles, it goes around this cove, and you could see the finish line, and I knew, so I had, my watch sorry, my phone was on my wrist, and, I had it tied into my girlfriend, so I knew she had already finished 17 minutes before me. But I remember the last few miles, uh, my legs were beginning to like this movement over and over and over again was really hurting me. And so I have two separate ways of running. One is this bigger steps. It's a little slower, and then I take sort of like old man steps, but I can do a lot of them. And so I was switching back and forth from those two because my legs were beginning to cramp up. My mom saw me come to the finish line and she goes, "You looked great." And I actually said to her, I said, "Yeah, I probably could have gone another 2 miles had I eaten, but my legs were actually totally on autopilot. Like, the moment I stop, I am stopping. They're not going to start up again." um, Anyways, they just do it. And I ran into the finish line and poof, I got through. And my folks were there and her folks were there. My girlfriend's folks were there. And I finished this. I saw a few friends of mine who came in after me that I didn't know were running. Um, I finished in 4:17, and I that's way earlier than I expected. I thought it'd be 4:45. I didn't maybe even 5. I didn't expect 4:17. I finished this, and my girlfriend and I was like, "No, we ain't no lunch today, no dinner. We're just gonna go home and watch a movie." We ordered out pizza or something, lots of food, and just sit there. I had such a feeling of accomplishment that day. It was like a spiritual revelation. I'm not even joking when I say that. Running a full marathon was literally mind blowing. To this day, even a little less than a year later, it is still like, wow, wow. It was like I had achieved something I had never dreamed of. The 5K, the 5 miler that I had done were amazing. I then proved myself I could run. But to go from 3.1 miles to a full marathon, I cannot tell you. I really can't put it into words. And I've told the story many times to many people, like my coworkers and my folks and friends. And I've always struggled to tell what it was like pushing myself beyond what I thought I could actually do and doing a training which got me to that place. You know, well, let me back up. I'm a writer. I write lots and lots of books. You can see them on my website. And I write when I have the time, when I feel like it, when I'm able to, whenever, when I have an idea. If I don't have time to write today, I'm not going to write. It's not going to happen. There's no pressure. I'm not a, I make a little money from these books, but I have a day job. I play music. I've been in some bands. When the band wasn't working out, I was like, moving on, guys. I practice when I want to. I do things when I want to. Even at work, I have deadlines, I have things, but I kind of set my own pace. So to run a marathon where I said I'm going to go out at least 3 days after work and then on the weekend and I'm going to run and I'm going to build up this running. So I go out for an hour after work and then I'm going to run for 3 hours on Saturday and I'm committed to that. If I don't do Saturday, I have to go out on Sunday. And then I'm running this race where all these half marathoners are going, but no, I am going to keep going. It is very rare in our lives, I believe, where we do things which put us on such a rigid schedule. Some of you may do it more than I do. I just don't really have that in my life. We do things maybe that put us on a schedule. Okay, you have to drop your kids off at soccer practice. But you know what? If they're a couple minutes late, it's okay. Uh, maybe things ran late at soccer practice, whatever. Yeah, you're going to get there, but you understand that there's going to be traffic, so you give yourself a little leeway. Yeah, you have to be at work every day at 9, but your pace might be off at 9. When I ran that marathon, though, I couldn't stop and go back. I couldn't go like, oh, no, I'm halfway through the marathon. Can we start it over? No, I had to just do it. And that training period, I knew that if I didn't go out on Saturday or didn't go out on Sunday for what's a longer run, I couldn't make up that longer run with a 3-hour run after work on Monday. I had to do other things Monday night, like go to bed at some point. I had to be committed to this schedule. And for me, that's not normal. And for many of you, it might not be normal. So I really ended up pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, particularly since I'm not a physical athlete. Maybe you could call me an athlete now, but I don't see myself as one. I'm a marathoner, I'll say that. And I did finish, so I can say I'm a marathoner. And you're a marathoner when you do a marathon. If you do less than a marathon, you're not a marathoner. You might run half marathons, or you're a runner, but a marathoner technically has done a marathon. And anything above a marathon is an ultra, so my girlfriend is now an ultra marathoner. I pushed myself outside of myself. I committed myself to something. I didn't give up. I almost did, but I didn't. And I did something I never imagined myself doing. And literally, it was mind-blowing. And it made me really consider, like, my life. It was like, I feel empowered. I feel like there's nothing I can't do. Well, within reason. And, yeah, I'll say maybe I got a little arrogant. Someone says, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't run a mile." Really? Why not? "Oh, I just said I can't." Yeah, but I said the same thing. What's your excuse? And, the great things about marathon running, and I always like to see this, is the age. So in the last race I did last week, the age for the 25K was 16 to 73. And I love seeing that when some person who's way older than me is out there. I also have seen folks who, while I'm on the very skinny side, they're very much not. They're quite big. and they're huffing and they're puffing. And when you have 100 or 200 pounds over me, yes, that is an influence on your running. And you can say anything you want about fat is beautiful or obesity is good, whatever. But honestly, when you're pushing yourself, uh, sorry, light change from the window. My light adjusts. Sorry. When you have that much, it does affect you because you have to now carry 200 pounds, and you're going to have to adjust your water and your eating. This is a fact of science. Has nothing to do with beauty. Has nothing to do with health. It has to do with health, but it has nothing to do with beauty or any of the other things you see online now. It's just a fact of science. Carrying more weight changes how you go. It affects your knees quite a lot too. So many people who are really huge have knee issues. There's a reason for that. But I would see folks out running the Maine Marathon. I remember there was one lady, she was at least 100 pounds bigger than me, and she was doing it. And I'm like, if you can do this, and if a 73-year-old man can do this, me, who's a really good shape 44-year-old back a year ago, to say, oh, I can't do a mile, why not? What's my excuse? What's my excuse? So that was such a mind-blowing thing for me. And yeah, like I said, it might sound a little arrogant, but I've kind of applied it to other things now in my life. Like, why can't I do this? Because I simply say I can? How do I know? I haven't tried it yet. So I am now a marathon runner, and I like running. And there's been a lot of changes to my body since I run. I've discovered that I don't really eat that well, and I don't eat a lot during the day. I really live on like 1,000 calories and a 80 to 85% vegetarian diet. And for running, that isn't really that good. 1,000 calories total in the day, that includes dinner, and I run before dinner, doesn't go well. So I've had to adjust my eating because I'll go out after work and I'm like, I'm dead after a half mile because there's just no calories left in my body. I've burned my lunch away at work. I realize I have a tendency to get dehydrated. I don't drink a lot, or I don't drink as much as I should. I, have a little bit of alcohol, no more than maybe, up to here. Yeah, I drink. I'll confess that, and it will dehydrate me, so I've had to stop drinking. And and yes, there's a Hindu talk on alcohol, and I'm not even being hypocritical by saying that Hinduism says not to drink, and I drink. I'm open to that. Um, my girlfriend actually makes mead, so I drink her mead, and I know that's hypocritical, but I'm being honest. You can't fault me for the honesty. And I know also Hinduism promotes vegetarian diets. Well, I have found that when I'm eating a completely vegetarian diet, after 2 to 3 days, I can't run. I need protein that I'm needing from chicken or something that I have yet to be able to find from eating. And even when I like doubled the salad and did other things, I still haven't been able to get enough protein to get me to run. I do have a friend, he's a vegetarian, and he's a runner. And I don't know if the two are related, maybe not, but his injury rate is like he gets injured all the time. And he's 50 something. No, he's 60 something. He's in great shape. He's been running for a long time. And he is completely vegetarian for 20 years, but he is always getting injured. And he goes, yeah, I push myself too hard and my body can't do it. And I don't know if there's a relation. I know there are runners who are vegetarians. I haven't found out how to do it. I can't do it. When I don't have to run today, yeah, my diet will probably be all vegetarian. But if I have to run, I do have to eat some meat. I just can't do it. I've seen other people. I know a guy who's a weightlifter, and he's like, "Oh, well, you could be a vegetarian." But I'm like, "Yeah, lifting weights is not the same as running for 4 hours. It's not the same." Like I said, I know there's hypocrisy with Hinduism, but that's on me, and I'm being honest about it. And I'm not a guru, and I'm not setting myself up here. So if you criticize me for not following the rules, well, I never said I did. I'm open about where I don't. And I've been open about this before. I also found one more thing, and I'll get into my last race. And yes, this episode's going longer than I thought it might. I found that since I started running, my mood has been better. Now, I'm not a depressed person, whatever. I'm actually pretty jovial most of the time. I tend to see myself as more melancholy, like, yeah, life is okay. I get excited, life is okay. Um, I'm not like depressed or manic or I need mental health days. I don't have any of that. I'm a pretty steady person, but I found sometimes I'd be a little low. But I found that when I started running, that low never happened. I'm actually emotionally higher now and more upbeat than I ever was before. No matter what's happening in life. I swear, like if I have a problem now, I'm like, no big deal. Yeah, no big deal. I toss things off easier. I just feel better. And it reminds me of another thing. I always thought all my life that feeling lethargic, just low and listless was normal. I thought that's how most people felt. Even when I've eaten better than I do, I still was like, yeah, but aren't most people kind of just like this? Well, I don't know if most people are, but since I started running, I don't feel lethargic. Even though my eating is questionable and it's something I'm always working on, it's my struggle. I found that even if I don't have the calories in me while I'm running, even though I'm running and it might be hard, I don't have that sense of lethargy anymore. So if you can say, well, it's because you don't eat enough, that's why you're like blah. Even now, when like if like today I'm not running and I haven't eaten so much today, I've probably eaten 200 calories. It's like 10:15 in the morning. Um, and I won't really eat that much today, I know, because on the weekends I don't feel lethargic though. I ran the other day, or I went out for a walk the other day. Um, I haven't started my running back up, but I will. I just don't feel lethargic because I really think it has. I think we live in a society where we all sit too much. I sit for 7 hours at work, or 7.5 or 6 hours, or whatever, 5 hours with all the things I do running around, and oh, that makes my legs hurt. And then I walk home, and then I sit in front of the TV. Most people sit for much more work than I do, I think, and then they get in their car, and then they commute, and then they get home, and they sit at the dining room table. They sit in front of the computer. They sit in front of their TV. There's not a lot of movement there. And for a lot of us who are in that sort of blue collar world of work, I think there's probably a sense of lethargy that we don't confess. Our bodies aren't made to just plop down all the time. Now, if you're a construction worker, yeah, you're probably getting way better. You may not feel this. If you're on your feet all day, my girlfriend works on her feet all day. I don't think she feels this, but she's also a runner, so it's hard to say. You know, if you work for the parks department, you're probably doing better than me. But for those of us who are sitting in offices, I'm willing to bet most of us have a sense of lethargy, but we don't even know we have a sense of lethargy. I just had this sense of listlessness, and sometimes my legs would be a little stiff or my hips. And oh, yeah, you know, you got to move around and do this like every so often, they say on your computer. It doesn't do anything. When I started running, though, I literally started to realize I had a sense of lethargy. And it was more than just, well, you know, you should just stretch for 5 minutes watching a computer screen. No, that doesn't do it because you're sitting so much. I don't think stretching for 5 minutes is compensating for 50 minutes of sitting like this hunched over a computer. I think, and it doesn't certainly compensate when you're sitting for how many hours at home watching TV at night. I don't think our bodies are meant for this type of movement all day or a lack of movement. And we don't realize that. We're just used to this sense of lethargy. And for me to start running, all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I don't like how I feel. This is really weird. And I started piecing it together that I was hurting myself. And I also was finding right before I started running that I was not able to lose weight like I used to be able to lose weight when I was in my 20s. I couldn't do it. And now I keep the weight off much more. So running has had a profound effect on me physically and mentally, emotionally. I believe other physical fitness things will have the same effect. Sorry, I don't do them. I don't know. I do know though, if I go a few days now without doing some running, I start to feel it. Like you kind of got to do it. You want to do it. Makes you feel good. So I have come to a point where I now encourage people to do something, even if it's going out for a walk after work. Don't come home, get the pizza and sit in front of the TV until midnight and clonk out. Come home and take a walk. And no, as a friend of mine said, he goes, "Well, I'm thinking about doing about 10 crunches in the morning." I'm like, no, that's not going to do it. 10 crunches is not going to do it for you. You have to get your heart rate moving. Do something that makes your heart move every day. A lot of people, that's hard to do. Um, and they go to the gym, and that's probably fine. I don't have any experience with gyms, so I can't speak. But I really think if you're not moving in some way, it's detrimental to your health, and in ways that you don't even know that it's detrimental. I also think I've felt more creative since I started running. I've been really productive, and I'm actually a productive guy, but I've been really productive since I started running. I think part of it also is I've lost time because I'm going out for an hour every day, so I don't have time now to do what I used to do. So when I do stuff, I'm more into it, but it's been a great feeling. So, yeah, I think that's what I've gotten out of running. If you are a runner, maybe you can relate, and I welcome your comments down below to share your feelings on running. If you're not a runner, I would hope you're enjoying this this travel through what it's like becoming a runner. I hope I haven't bored you to death. And I hope you find it interesting. And I hope you're also finding it inspiring to maybe look at your own life going, gosh, am I sedate and comfortable? And I don't even realize it. Maybe. So there's one more run that I did, and I'll talk about that. I did half half marathon in Millinocket, Maine, which is a very small town up in the mountains. It's the last stop before Mount Katahdin. It's actually where Henry David Thoreau stopped to get a guide because he wanted to conquer the summit of Katahdin. His guide was basically the one person living in the town. There was no town. It was just this one guy and his wife and kids. Eventually, around 1900, a mill would be constructed. The Great Northern Paper Mill, which was the largest paper mill in the world, became the template for all paper mills everywhere, remained probably the largest, and worked 24/7. And a town built up overnight. I think it got up to like 8,000 people. Everyone had something to do with the mill. The mill closed, God, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 30 years ago, and took most of the town with it. Literally. Imagine if your number one industry just closed and without warning, just sorry, we're gone. Literally just a town. So now you have a very small town of 4,000 people, less than 4,000, dwindling population, and it's kind of a dying town, but it's a lovely little town. We really like it. Actually, my book that I'm writing that I'll be talking about in the future episode when I get it done takes place in Millinocket, Maine. So Millinocket created about 15 or so years ago a marathon because they needed to bring people to the town. There is nothing there economically. There is people who go up there for in the winter or the summer for the trails, and in the winter you can go into the mountains. But a marathon brings people to town, so they form this marathon, and it's really unique, and it's become well known in marathon circles because marathons charge you. They may charge you like $70 to run or 100 or something. But Millinocket says, no, it's free. Just sign up, but take the money and spend it in the city. That's all we ask. Buy local stuff. We have a craft fair that goes on. Stop at our restaurants, stay in our hotels. Put the money into the city. And I think this past year they raised, what, 500,000? More than 500,000 was raised throughout the entire city. It is a huge fundraiser that has put the city on the map again. And you're off in the middle of nowhere and you're running on an old logging road. I'll talk about that in a second, but the Millinocket Marathon started with what, 54 people, I think. When I ran it, it had, God, it was 700 of us. So it's really built up. And I should just mention that I know, actually, I'm sorry, I forget how many ran my full. I think it was about 700 that ran the full Maine Marathon out of that 4 to 7,000 that I was talking about. It was small. So it was about the same amount that ran the Millinocket Marathon. And they have a full marathon that does this loop, and it's a half marathon loop. And then you keep going to do it twice, or you just do it once and you finish for the half. My girlfriend did the half. We went back and then she did the half, and then her and I went back last year. She did the full, and I did the half, and now we're planning to. We'll see. She signed up for the full again, and I signed up for the half again, but we don't know. I may switch up to the full. She may switch down to the half. We're gonna do one of them together. That's all I know. Maybe. The problem is, you get about, I don't know, 100 feet from the starting line, and it starts between two logging trucks. It's really cool, and it's in this. They have like a fire burning and music. You can get on YouTube and Google Millinocket Marathon. It's really cool. But you get about 100 feet from the starting line, and you go up this hill, and you go up this hill, and you go up this hill, and you go up this hill for about a mile and a half. I think you go about 700 feet, which may not sound like much, but when you're running up a hill, everything is off. Your gait, your speed, everything. And for the first mile and a half, remember I said earlier that your body goes into autopilot around 3 to 4 miles, depending upon your physical fitness and your body. That's a hard opening because you cannot set your pace on a hill because your pace is off. And if you if you step in the wrong way, you can hurt your gait. I remember we went up and up and up, and the first water station was a mile and a half, and you could see it in the distance. And all of a sudden, people just picked up speed and ran to it. I heard they ran out of water after us. So the full marathon went 20 minutes before us. By the time my group of the half marathon, they'd run out of water because that too many people just they killed themselves coming up. I remember seeing so many people leaving that water station and just going to it, just walking. They just mile and a half of a half marathon, they've already killed themselves because those hills kill you. And uh, it was really hard. And what made it worse, it was like, I don't know, 16 degrees. The year before it was 12. Uh, it was in the snow, in the rain, and in the wind. I took off my glasses. I have no depth perception. I'm nearsighted because the rain was hitting me. They were fogging up and I couldn't see anyways. There was no mountain because normally you're running, and if the sun is out, you can see Mount Katahdin. So you're running most of this marathon with Mount Katahdin right there, and it's so beautiful. Not the year I ran it; it was just, and there was ice, so we were all having to go around the ice. So you're all kind of running on the side bit to not slip and hurt yourself. Oh my gosh, it was so hard, and I had a couple layers on, but I was taking the layers off because it was like, and I was drenched. I was literally drenched, but I was so warm. Oh, it was so uncomfortable of a race. And it was a hard race. It was so hard, and I didn't realize how hard it would be and how that hill would kill you. And I saw so many people walk. I ended up coming around to the end and getting to the finish line, and my legs just stopped. I couldn't move. The idea was I was going to go up to our Airbnb, take a shower, and come back, but I couldn't. So I sat there on this bench for 2 hours in the pouring rain. There was like 10 people at the finish line. The rain was so bad. In the pouring rain under this tree, shivering, unable to move, waiting for my girlfriend to come home. Come through the race so we could go home. It was insane. It really killed me. Uh, and if she was messed up too, it was hard on her. It was a really hard race. We both say the Millinocket Marathon is like what you do to train for the Ironman or Muddy Rudder. It is so intense. If you're looking for a challenging marathon, do Millinocket. It is beyond intense. The Maine Marathon was easy compared to the half marathon in Millinocket. So yeah, we're going back, and as we're walking up to the Airbnb, like, well, we'll be back next year. We could try again because it was just so invigorating. I remember we jumped in the shower and just stood there for like an hour. It's like, can you move? No, can't. Okay. I was actually sick with a migraine and throwing up the next day, and she was driving home. It's like 3 hours from Portland, and it was so bad we got to Bangor, which is where Stephen King lives, which is like an hour and a half from Millinocket. We stopped in a McDonald's. Had she not had to go to work the next day, we would have gotten a hotel because she was falling apart. It was that hard on our bodies. Um, it was really hard on our bodies. It was so tough. Um, It was like, why? Like you're running this marathon, and I remember running it and finishing it and sitting on this bench going in my head, like, I am questioning my life choices. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Isn't there easier ways to lose weight or keep weight off or not be lethargic? Oh, it was really miserable, but it was awesome. And we liked the area. We almost bought a house in Millinocket. That's how much we like this area. It was actually watching her on the Millinocket race that made me want to start racing. That was the race I waited for her the year before in the freezing cold when it was 12 degrees. And I remember her running in and she had icicles on her hair. She literally had solid ice on her hair from the sweat. And I'm looking at her going, oh, I'm going to do this. And that's when I started doing the walking, was this particular race. My thought was also, even though she has icicles, she's probably warmer than I am because I'm going back and forth from different store to different store just to stay warm in 12 degrees and snow. um, that was an intense race. And you know how I talked about I had a sense of unbelievableness, a sense of accomplishment from the Maine Marathon? This was greater than that. This was like, oh my God, I don't believe what I've just done. I'm in so much pain, but I don't believe what I've just done. This was such a challenging. The Millinocket, I mean, the Maine Marathon it's got some hills, but the inclines aren't that bad. It's all on gravel, not on gravel, on pavement. The Millinocket, to just go up, and then you're on this logging road. It is the old logging road that goes back a century, and it's this old logging road, and you loop in back into town in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing out there. You're literally outside of town, and once you're outside of Millinocket, this is the last stop of civilization before the mountains. So it's nothing. But to do this was so hard, and like it was like 700-800 feet you go up very within the first 3 miles. It's very quick, and it was so hard. I was like, "Yep, I can keep doing this. Yep, I'm gonna keep doing this because if I can do this, I can do anything." It was it was unbelievable. To compare it to the race I did this past weekend, the race I did this past weekend was actually the first race I did that was fun. The others were been so painful. This last one, either I trained better or something, or just whatever. It was fun, and that's a nice change of pace because I have last year was so torturous between hurting my feet and I actually had some leg pain that was bothering me for months on end. So I actually went into the Millinocket race not as well prepared as I was hoping I would be, even coming out of the Maine Marathon. So it was certainly something to do that. It was unbelievable. Um, yeah, I'm reliving it in my head. It was wow. So the problem with this one is you have to finish your first loop if you're doing the full. You have to finish it within 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I came in at 2:17. Sorry, 2:14. I need a drink too. I'm not used to talking this long. I came in on this at 2:14, and that's not much of a window. That's a 5-minute window. And I don't know if here it is, June 3rd. I don't know if by December I can pick up my speed to be able to finish and get back by 2:20 to then do it again to do the full. If you can't do that first loop by that 2:20 cutoff, they pull you off and you're counted as a half marathoner. So unlike the race I did this past weekend, there is a timing thing for Millinocket. You have to finish that first loop, otherwise they pull you off because they start actually closing the streets down. No, they start opening the streets back up a little bit. So they want everyone around. They don't want you spending 6 hours just on the first loop. They want to get you moving. And I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my speed up to be able to do that loop because I don't want to come on that loop at uh 2 hours and 19 minutes and be like, oh, sorry, you're done. I'm like, oh shit. That's I just don't want that. So I don't know if by November I have got my speed up and I'm feeling like I can run a half marathon in 2 hours. Maybe I might change it. Doesn't cost me anything, obviously, to change this. Ironically, my girlfriend is being like, "Yeah, that's such a hard marathon. I don't know why if I want to do it, maybe I'll do the half." So if she does the half, I'll stay at the half so we can run together. I don't know. I don't know. But that was how I ended last year. 4 races, and now I just did my 5th, and I had fun for the first time, and I've learned so much about myself and about my body and about other things. So this has been maybe, yeah, I think this is actually the longest episode I've ever done so far, and maybe the least spiritual. But for whatever reason that you're here, if you've checked out part of this or bounced around, I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you found this interesting. If you are a marathon runner, you've probably bounced around to hear what I've had to say, and you may agree with some of this and you may not. I am not well versed in marathon books. I could show you a photo of my girlfriend's book collection, everything from Running with the Kenyans to David Goggins. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think she's got what, 20 books up there, and I haven't read them. She's gave me Born to Run, but I haven't read it yet. It's right over here on my stack. This one I showed earlier that I've run, I've read very little, so I am not really well versed. She is also a certified was it like level 1 training, level 1 running coach. She's taken the course. She's got some huge book around here of health and all that. She knows that stuff. I don't. So if you don't hear me talking necessarily technical stuff and physical stuff, I really don't know this, and I'm not an athlete. I know a little bit of the body. I know some things I've learned. I've learned that women have a different shape hip, which affects their running speed, and I didn't know that. Um, but I'm not a technical person, so if you're a marathoner, you're like, "Oh, what about this or what about that?" Feel free to ask me in the comments, but I'm just a runner. I don't I don't have the knowledge, so I'm not talking about that stuff. If you're not a runner, you're not a marathoner, and you're watching this, maybe you're a different type of athlete. Hopefully, you found some of this interesting, and you may be able to relate. If you're not any of these things, I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me to find out what it's like starting running at 44 years old from literally uh, 0, sitting on the couch, to now running 5 races, including a full, and now just, yeah, I think I'm gonna be running every year. It'd be great if I did maybe a marathon every year or every other year. That's kind of my idea, and do a couple races a year. Um, we already think to ourselves, "Well, where could we go?" We could take trips around, and yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it. There's something amazing about, I don't know. It's hard to say. Running is hard. It's not fun. Like I said, I have other things to do, but the sense of I can is unlike anything I've ever done. That sense of accomplishment. I have done a lot of things in my life. I'm just going to brag for a moment. I've done 300 theater productions, including off Broadway, and directing off Broadway. I have done podcasts, 5 or 6, YouTube stuff here. I've published tons of books. I've traveled. I've been to 16 countries. I've done all these different things. I'm someone who doesn't believe in regrets. So I put my mind into doing things. It's not because I'm trying to get self-esteem points. And aren't you so impressed that I've done 300 theater productions? I don't do anything now, so there's nothing to impress you by. I haven't been on stage in years, probably never be on stage again. But at the time, that's what I want to do. So I put myself into it. And I'm a bit obsessive that way. I just go all the way in. And if I want to do something, I do it. If I want to write a book, why wait till I'm 65? No, I'm going to do it now. I don't wait. I'm a go-getter. I make those things a priority. I'd rather go write my book than go to a restaurant tonight, quite honestly. So I have done a lot of things, but the sense of accomplishment that I have felt from the Maine full marathon, excuse me, and the Millinocket half marathon, the sense of can do, the sense of putting myself outside of my comfort zone, really outside of my comfort zone, has been so amazing. I honestly can't compare it to anything I've ever done. No joke. I literally cannot think of anything in my life of all the things I can be proud of. And I published my first book when I was 22. That's quite an achievement for, a lot of people don't do that. Yet, running that marathon was so outside my comfort zone and so beyond me and so beyond anything I thought I could do. I literally, it's one of the greatest moments of my life. Quite literally, one of the greatest moments of my life. Right up there with meeting the girl I'm currently with. I can't, it was so amazing. And it was all because I pushed myself. Had I not pushed myself, I wouldn't have this. Writing books for me is actually easy at this point. I just require time. I can sit and play my bass for a while. I'm maybe not the greatest bass player, but I know what I'm doing, and I could join a band if I had time. I don't because I'm running. That's actually why I've stopped playing music, is because I'm running so much. Um, if someone said to me, "Would you like to do theater?" I'd probably say yes. I've done so much of it. It would be, a nice thing to do, but I wouldn't be getting outside of myself. This marathon did that, and mind blown. It is really amazing. And as I said earlier, it's made me think of other things in my life and how often we don't step out of our comfort zones, how often we accept, oh, that's the way it is, how often we say, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. No, of course not. Well, why can't you? Because I said so. And because I said so is a later day modern New York Dolls song and should be just a song. It should not be a motto to our life. If you go and Google, it's really good. It's from their later reunion stuff. It should just, because I said so, should just be a song. It shouldn't be anything else. And it's just blown my mind how I've had this experience. Give me 1 second. My coffee is so cold right now. um, but we're gonna wrap this show up now. And I just want to say thank you for sitting with me. It's been good to share this story in the complete view. I've actually been thinking about writing a book about all this, but I just have other things I've been doing. There will be a second episode, much shorter, I promise, where I detail more of the miracle healing I had. Really, it was absolutely healed, gone. And but I hope you've enjoyed this jaunt through marathon running from zero to whatever. My voice is, I'm losing my voice now. So it is absolutely time to call this a day. You see, there's no editing here. This is all live. And so I will bring this to a close now. And I'm going to say thank you for hanging out with me on this sort of special episode. Uh, but yeah, hmm, I enjoy. I would really highly. I hope you walked away with something. I'm just going to say that. I hope I've sat here for an hour and 45 minutes and you've enjoyed something. You've walked away with something here. Next week we will. Next week we will pick up with our spiritual seekers course and go into some more hardcore Sanatana Dharma and tradition and some more in-depth stuff versus just this living your best life spiritual sort of generic thing that I've been doing for this episode and the past few. I just had some things I want to talk about. And I don't know my audience, so I don't know what you're here for. So it's just sharing whatever, and hopefully you find it of interest. But we will be getting more into some hardcore religious stuff in the next week. So returning to the main theme of this channel. And so please come back and visit me. And if you're a marathon runner or an athlete who has chimed in for this one time only video, um, please check out some of my other stuff. Please do. And you know what? I think that's a good stopping point. And please, comments down below, anything at all, from whatever point of view you have. Questions, I may have missed some things. I don't script this, it's all off the cuff. Or if there's things you want to know more about or whatever, down below, let me know. I will respond back, though I am slow to respond to YouTube comments, but that's just me. Don't take it personally. And yeah, I think that's it. So thank you for hanging out with me. It's been enjoyable. And until next time, Jai Swaminarayan. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, and may all the best to you in your life and your adventures. I look forward to hearing about them in the comments below. Until next time.